what's up guys, it's Justin or the Healthy Turtle and welcome to another video. Today, I have a special kind of video, something I've never done before. On screen, I am on fesorter.com, which is essentially a website where they give you 2 units from the Fire Emblem franchise and then you select which one you like better of the 2. You keep picking and selecting until the sorter has ranked every single character from who you like the best to who you like the least. So yeah, I literally sat down for around 4 hours clicking and clicking through all the combinations just to get to this list. I filmed the selection on January 4th, so I think my results would be a little bit different now. There's already almost a 6-month difference. The reason why I'm commentating over this right now is because this is my 100th video and I wanted to do a mini special. Since 33 of my videos are for Fire Emblem Heroes, 2 of which are reactions to Fire Emblem Heroes videos, if they count, and 11 are for Fire Emblem Radiant Dawn, it seems very fitting to do a Fire Emblem video for my 100th special. Almost half of my channel is dedicated to Fire Emblem. I didn't want to do a commentary on top of a summoning type of video like I did for my 1-year anniversary of Fire Emblem Heroes, because I feel like this is something bigger for me as a content creator. It would also give me a lot more time to talk about my Fire Emblem career, because the summonings wouldn't buy me this much time. So what better way of doing a special surrounded to something around half of my channel is based off of, than seeing how I rank all the characters in the franchise. I also thought this would be really cool to do again a few years down the line when I've played and completed more Fire Emblem games to see how different my rankings would be. The reason why I'm not doing it again 6 months after January is because I want to see the greatest difference possible within my lists, and January was the earliest I've ever sorted through it. Before I begin, I just wanted to preface saying that no characters after Fire Emblem Echoes are included in this sorter along with a few others. For example, Alphonse, Sharina, and Anna, and others from Fire Emblem Heroes are not in the sorter. There are no Warriors characters or Fire Emblem Switch characters, which hopefully is announced at E3 in June. Echoes characters, as you've probably seen already, are in the sorter, as Echoes is a remake of Gaiden. So while I click away in the background, I wanted to talk about my experience with the franchise, which obviously influenced my choices. I'm a huge fan of Fire Emblem and I've been interested in the franchise since around late 2011, early 2012. I'm not sure the exact date, but I'll get into that a bit later. At the time of me recording my clicking, I've played 5 different Fire Emblem games. I played Shadow Dragon and the Blade of Light, Sacred Stones, Path of Radiance, Radiant Dawn, and Awakening. In other words, that's FE1, FE8, FE9, FE10, and FE13 if you prefer numbers. Fire Emblem Path of Radiance. The first Fire Emblem I've ever seen was during a Let's Play. Slim Kirby's of Path of Radiance are probably around 6 to 7 years ago. This is just my estimate, as I remember that I really enjoyed watching Slim's videos, and I started with this Leaf Party Let's Play, which was still in progress at the time. I was a huge fan and I watched almost all of his videos, including one of his longest Let's Plays, which happened to be Fire Emblem Path of Radiance. Because I really liked his style of commentary and how entertaining he was, I watched the entire series. I got really into the game as the characters were very intriguing, I really liked the story, and also the music was phenomenal. At the time I was also a huge fan of chess, and Fire Emblem has sort of a similar strategy in that sense, where in turns, you have units fight the enemies to try to complete objectives like killing the boss. So I binged this whole series and had a good 24-ish hours of entertainment. I tried looking in game stores, but I would never see any Fire Emblem. At the time, it wasn't very popular in North America and was mainly exclusive in Japan. I didn't realize this at the time and got very upset that Path of Radiance was over $100 on Amazon. Luckily, I still had the chance to play several games in the franchise. Fire Emblem Radiant Dawn. Radiant Dawn was the first Fire Emblem I've ever played, and that was probably about 5 to 6 years ago. As I was looking through my friend's library of Wii games trying to decide what to play with him, I stumbled across Fire Emblem Radiant Dawn. At the time, I didn't know that there were several Fire Emblem games, I only knew of Path of Radiance. I was intrigued. I asked him if he'd played the game before. He said it was really hard and scary. It also wasn't multiplayer, so I put it down for a while. Fast forward a few months, I'm back at his place, but he was real tired or something, so I'm like, what do I do? I booted up some Radiant Dawn, that's what I did. I was really confused. Where were Ike and Soren and Mist and Ranulf? There was just this weird Micaiah girl who looked like a mixture of old and young, some Edward boy and a weird Nolan man. I wasn't a huge fan of Leonardo. And then I started to learn that the different Fire Emblem games had different stories that followed different characters, and the universe was incredibly large. Either way, I started playing through it because it still had that strategic chess element. I got real hooked. I remember repeatedly singing along to the Fire Emblem theme throughout the whole day, trying to buff up Edward as much as possible, and getting extremely angry and resetting whenever Jill died for the umpteenth time. I started countless playthroughs, probably almost in the tens, but I only played through 2 of them to a long extent. Because of Radiant Dawn's difficulty, my poor skills, and the constant desire to want to save the story, as I wanted the game to last really long, I beat my first playthrough on August 11th, 2017, which is actually my birthday. In other words, it took around 4 to 5 years for me to beat that game. It was a big deal for me, not just because of how long it took me to beat, but also the fact that it was the first Fire Emblem game that I've ever beaten. For that reason, Fire Emblem Radiant Dawn is, and probably will always be, my favorite Fire Emblem game. It holds a nostalgic factor and also lots of time with accomplishments. Radiant Dawn often gets a lot of criticism for its long story and chapters, but I think that's what made me like it even more. Because of its length, I have many memories playing that game. I've done a stream or 2 of me playing the game, but it wasn't the most fun. It kind of took away from me admiring the game for what it is, as I felt the need to talk a lot. I might try it again in the future, but I would probably focus more on the gameplay. I also attempted to do a let's play of the game, but the quality was quite poor and my commentary was very mediocre. It was fun and all, but if I were to do a let's play of that game, I would want it to be well done. It's not just because now I try to strive for higher quality videos in terms of rendering, commentary, and edits, but as dramatic as it may sound, I felt like I wasn't really doing the game justice. That's why I stopped that playthrough. I think I've played around 150 hours of Radiant Dawn, and that's excluding the time I've put into resetting the chapter if someone I liked died. If I were to include that time, I'd probably estimate around 175 hours. In total, I've only beaten the game once, but I plan on playing through it again in the near future and experimenting with units I didn't use previously. Fire Emblem Awakening. On April 7th, 2016, I had plopped in my second game ever on the 3DS into the handheld console, Fire Emblem Awakening. I'd stayed away from all possible gameplay and tried to avoid any trailers or informational videos in the past. As a result, this game was the first Fire Emblem game where I went in with little to no spoilers. I knew little about the characters, the story, everything. All I heard was this game is phenomenal and it was gaining a huge amount of popularity for the Fire Emblem franchise. In a sense, it revived the series. I had high hopes going into the game, and when I first flickered it on, I was already impressed by the stunning opening cinematic tied together with a beautiful orchestral introduction. It did not fail me in the slightest. In my opinion, it was a perfect combination of beauty, humor, and heart clench. A lot of people always comment about the story, saying it's very basic and predictable. I thought the story was fine and was even strengthened by the characters. I loved that every character was unique. I would learn so much more about each one after spending hours trying to farm up all these different leveled supports. It actually made farming for something that is considered extra worthwhile. For example, I learned that while Stahl is a sleepy shepherd who is late to his first battle, he is still kind, calm, and caring. He is also a monster on the battlefield, but is extremely humble. I love Stahl. Sure, the characters might not appear like the toughest warriors who all have the drive of saving their people, but I think that makes them the most humane, and rather than seeing them as soldiers in a war, I see them as friends. I feel like that is an aspect Awakening does so well, as it creates an emotional attachment to the player and the character, and it makes the role of being Robin so much more realistic in feeling. I would be distraught for days if one of my favorite characters died, and it adds to the drive of playing through without making any mistakes. I also love the music, and I think Awakening has the best soundtrack in the franchise hands down. I could go on and on about how Awakening is such a fantastic game in a separate video, because I feel like a lot of people who didn't play Awakening as their first Fire Emblem game often give it hate for having a relatively different formula compared to past games. I also don't want to spoil too much about any of the games in this video, and I feel like an Awakening praise video would need to spoil lots. That being said, as much as I love Awakening, it's not my favorite Fire Emblem, and I don't think it is the best Fire Emblem game either. However, one could argue that it is the best video game of the franchise. I remember watching a streamer named Prumbus who stated that Fire Emblem Awakening is a fantastic video game, but not a great Fire Emblem game. What do you guys think of that statement? Also, while you're at it, let me know, what is your favorite Fire Emblem game, which ones have you played, and which one was your first? I'd love to know where everybody is. Let's all respect each other's opinions, because in the end, we all love Fire Emblem, and we shouldn't have different favorites divide the massive community. Anyway, back to Awakening. As of now, I've played the game for 92 hours in the span of 2 years. 92 is counting a bit after January, where I filmed this order, but I didn't continue much of the story in that time. I have 3 files, and in my first one on Easy and Classic is on the endgame. I've been on that chapter for probably almost a year now. I've just been trying to get all the supports possible before I enter the final chapter. I'm also playing a hard playthrough and a lunatic playthrough. Lunatic is so tough. Hopefully I'll beat all these 3 files one day. Fire Emblem Path of Radiance. At around late 2016, early 2017, I finally had the chance to play Path of Radiance for the first time. The chapters were a lot shorter than Radiant Dawn's, and I felt like it was easy to sit down for a while every day to complete one chapter. It was kind of refreshing after the long and occasionally never-ending chapters of Radiant Dawn. It was also a lot easier, and from all that I've played so far, I've only reset once or twice. That chapter where the Black Knight pops out of the house and is able to move right away messes me up, man. My poor sword never stood a chance. Other than the minor graphical differences in the shorter chapters, it was still a very similar experience to Radiant Dawn, as the latter is a sequel to Path of Radiance. If you have played one of the two and enjoyed it, I definitely recommend playing the other. As of right now, I've only played about 8 hours of Path of Radiance, and I stopped at chapter 11, Blood Runs Red. Yeah, I never got around to beating that chapter with the Black Knight jumping Soren. Fire Emblem Shadow Dragon and the Blade of Light. In around June 2017, I played a bit of Shadow Dragon and the Blade of Light. For those who don't know, this is the first ever Fire Emblem game and was released 28 years ago. It took me so long just to figure out the controls, as there was no tutorial. From what I remember, there were not many different mechanics either. I don't think there was a weapon triangle or a skill pool. The music was pretty irritating. I listened to a retro sounding soundtrack on repeat while I struggled to move my characters. I also found that I could not look at the screen for too long. The green was very sharp on my eyes and it hurt. It stung. I played about 2 to 3 hours. I think I got stuck in chapter 4, Battle in the Leah, where I couldn't catch the thief that kept destroying a village where Merrick resided, which prevented me from recruiting him. It made me very angry because I wasn't able to change the starting positions of my units, so I really had no way of reaching the village or the thief before he got to the village. Honestly, I don't plan on playing it ever again. It was hard on my eyes and was very frustrating in general. It wasn't even very fun. Fire Emblem Sacred Stones. On August 10th, 2017, I played Sacred Stones for the first time. That was actually the day before I beat Radiant Dawn. I thought it would be fitting, after experiencing so much of the Tellius saga, to start a completely new story that was unrelated to the rest of the franchise. I was a little bit worried, as I really enjoyed the newer games I had played, Path of Radiance, Radiant Dawn, and Awakening, but despised the one older game I tried, Shadow Dragon and the Blade of Light. In my eyes, Sacred Stones was an older game. I was relieved to find out that Sacred Stones was actually a decent game. Better than decent, actually. The chapters are quick and the game is extremely easy. One of my friends hopped on Discord while I was playing through it, and I told him to play through it with me. We spent a couple of hours playing through Sacred Stones. It was really fun, and even refreshing. The difficulty of the game made me worry less about making a wrong move, and I was a lot more relaxed playing this game in comparison to others. I really like Sacred Stones. To be completely honest, I don't think it really outshone other games in any specific aspect, but it was just a breath of fresh air. Also, I like the characters. Franz is the man, Ross is my boy, Arter's my mage. Erica sucks though. As of right now, I've played 26 hours up to chapter 16, Ruled by Madness. I'll probably beat the game over the summer. I'm really enjoying it. Fire Emblem Shadow Dragon. At around March 2018, I played Shadow Dragon, a remake of Shadow Dragon and the Blade of Light, for the first time. Keep in mind that this date is after the time when I filmed the FE Sorter clip, so my experience with this game does not affect my list. Although it is not difficult to achieve this, FE7 is significantly better than FE1. I'm actually enjoying the game, although I miss Frey. I haven't played too much of it yet, but I find it really interesting that a lot of the early chapters allow you to have so many units on the field at once. It makes the game more interesting, as yes, I will be less outnumbered in terms of fights, but it is harder to balance the experience between everyone. So far, it's a very good remake, and I plan on playing New Mystery of the Emblem after finishing this game. I used to be iffy about the ideas of remakes as I thought unoriginal content was both lazy and bland, but after playing this game, I must say that I am really open to remakes, and I strongly hope they come out with a Genealogy of the Holy War remake soon, please. I really want to play Genealogy because the story seems so interesting, but the graphics make me a bit hesitant, and I don't really want to start a playthrough just to have a remake be released shortly after. But yes, Shadow Dragon. Good remake. I do recommend. However, I've only played about 4.5 hours up to the 6th chapter called Fire Emblem. What an original name, I know. Fire Emblem Heroes. Okay, so I didn't know if this game counted as part of the list because it's not a console game like all the others, and it's not on the FE Sorter. It's a mobile game. It's also not centered around a story, but rather the idea of summoning units I like. Or at least that's what it feels like. I've been playing this game since launch. I remember staying up just for the game to appear on the App Store and downloading it as soon as possible. So that's almost 15 months? I wish I could check the amount of hours I've put into the game, but I feel like that statistic just might make me sad. If I were to estimate, I'd say probably about 200 to 300 hours. If AFK Tempest Trial farming counted, I might be close to 500. I did take a break from the game a few months in as it was getting a bit stale. This made me miss out on Tobin and 2 Masked Marts, and now I'm getting really sad. If you happen to stumble across this video because you are curious of who my favorite characters were, first of all, welcome to the channel. Thank you for stopping by. I'm surprised you've lasted this long through the video without clicking off, unless you just use a timestamp. Secondly, I also make heroes content if you want to check it out. Most of it consists of summonings and stuff. I hope the game continues to come out with new content and continues to thrive for many years to come. So that's it. That's all the Fire Emblem games I've played until this point. In the future, I want to play the Genealogy series, New Mystery of the Emblem, Echoes, the Fates games, and finally the Binding Blade series. By the next time I go through this sorter, there will probably have been a couple of new Fire Emblem games released on consoles, hopefully one of them being a Genealogy remake. Anyway, that's all of my Fire Emblem experience, so let's get into the results of my list. There are 574 characters in the whole franchise, and at the time I think I knew only about half of them. I tried to rank the ones I knew automatically above ones I didn't, but sometimes my dislike for a character overpowered this attempt. If my list differs immensely with yours, please don't hate me too much. This may be because I haven't played the games with your favorite characters, or simply the fact that we have contrasting opinions. Let me know what your lists would look like and why you might really like a character or why you might really not like another. I'd love to hear your favorites and your least favorites. Once again, let's all respect each other's favorites and opinions and just have fun with it. Alright, so let's start off with the characters ranked at the bottom. My most hated units. These guys mainly consisted of characters that I didn't know, and those were placed against each other based off appearance. Yes, I am shallow. So at the very bottom in 578th place, we have Hilda. I thought she looked absolutely terrifying. That is the sole reason why she lost every single matchup. I mean, I'm sure she's a great person and all, but her look just makes me think of the Wicked Witch of the West. Then, if we scroll up a bit, we have the first character I am familiar with, Zuka. If you haven't played Radiant Dawn, all you need to know is that this man is a horrible individual. I hate him so much that I put him under some characters I did not know. Right above him is Calic. I don't think I recognized him at the time, but now I certainly know who he is from Sacred Stones. I actually quite like his character, so I think I'd definitely rank him higher now. Above him are lots of characters that I do not recognize at all. I don't even know Dorothy, but she just looked very irritating and dumb. I'm sorry. Scrolling up to 555th is Harden, who I didn't know at the time. After playing a bit of Shadow Dragon and summoning him on Heroes, I must say I quite like him. He's quite a cool dude. Continuing on, I recognize a few names like Scarlet and Reina, Rajat from Heroes, and Selkie. Selkie actually placed 21st on the second round of Choose Your Legends, higher than both Ryoma and Marth, so I'm sorry, I like beast units, I just had no clue who she was. Then we have Board, who I'm surprised didn't rank near Cord, and Darius from Shadow Dragon. Darius is quite a cool unit, and I'm using him in my current playthrough, so I wouldn't be surprised if he was in the top 100 next time around. At 482, we have Julius, who recently came out as a Grand Hero Battle unit on Heroes. Unfortunately, I was being super slow and didn't battle him in time. Now I lack Julius, and I have to wait for his Grand Hero Battle Revival to get him. On this page, I'm only familiar with Barter at 469, who's in Heroes. I hate summoning him, so that's probably why he's so low. At 441, we have our main man Cord, who is 73 ranks higher than his brother Board. I don't actually know if he's his brother, I just wanted to use alliteration. Jerome is at 439, which is actually really shocking. Soon after I did this order, I got him from the Tempest Trials rewards and got him to 4k hero merit. At 425 is Almeda, who is a really good character, but I just hate her. 421 is Gangrel, he's right next to Oliver at 420. I would make a joke, but I don't want to get demonetized. Loot at 417. I have 2 copies of her on Heroes. I actually didn't really like her in Sacred Stones, she seemed kind of stuck up to me. Right above her is Orson. I had a feeling he would do what he did in his game, so I rightfully took away his weapons at the right time. Here I recognize Julian at 397. I think I'm using him for my playthrough, but I might change my mind. There's so many Shadow Dragon characters that are pretty interesting. It's also not very often that I use thieves in my playthroughs, especially if you can get keys or lockpicks. However, I do think a cool video idea could be to talk about my favorite thieves in the franchise. Maybe in the future I'll do videos based on favorites of each class, genre, personality, stats, whatever. I have lots of options. Anyway, continuing on, I also recognize Jomke at 390. He was in the bonus box as one of the teams I could battle, and I trained off of him for a bit of XP, but mainly for supports. 384 is my main man caster. I think he's going to be my main archer slash hunter through Shadow Dragon. I just like his storyline of switching sides and devoting his life to Kaida. 368 is Valter, who I recently upgraded to a 5-star unit on Heroes. Once again, I probably didn't recognize him at the time. At 360 we have Louise, who is Louise. Up a bit further are 3 villains in a row, Petrine, Walhart, Valadar, all of whom I don't like. It's not that I don't like their characters, I just don't like what they stand for. 333, Frey. I miss that man so much. He died in my Shadow Dragon playthrough and I wanted to use him until the end. I am thoroughly sad. At 321 is Legion, and he marks the characters that I start recognizing. There's still a couple here and there that I don't, and are simply up there because of their art. For example, on this page there are lots of Heroes characters. I'm surprised Julia and Leaf are so low though, at 302 and 303. It was probably because Leaf didn't come out yet in January, and I'm not too sure about Julia. I've summoned her 3 times and I love her high attack stat. At 286 is Gray, who I'm currently working on in Heroes. I summoned 2 of him recently and he's not too bad of a unit, he's got immensely high attack as well. I also love how Florina and Rebecca are so close together because when I look at them, I think Darting Blow fodder. At rank 258 is Rennick, simply because I had already trained Colm so much previously and didn't want all of that to go to waste. In my next playthrough of Sacred Stones, because I feel like that game has so much replayability, I'll probably use Rennick instead. I quite like him. 254 is Leonardo, who I wish had some use in Radiant Dawn. Aversa is at 249, and I don't really know why she's 106 places above Valadar. I actually once had a dream that I summoned her in Heroes, and she had a cool movie play. I have weird dreams. Also, you probably noticed that a lot of the Fates characters are ranked semi-high considering I haven't played their game. I just really like their art. Peleus is at 206, who I'm surprised ranked directly under Skirmer. I thought I liked Peleus a lot better than Skirmer because I'm not a fan of the latter. I guess not? Also, I love how Basilio and Flavia are right next to each other. I think here, within the top 200 is where the rankings are exclusive to characters of games that I have played. I don't really see any Fates characters lurking here and there anymore. Or at least up until Xander? I'm not sure, but the ones that are from Fates are likely just units I have in Heroes. I guess from Ina to Astrid we have a bunch of units that I didn't use in my playthroughs. Will I ever use them? I don't know, but I remember that I did get Astrid maxed out at the 3rd class at level 20, but I decided to use Rolf instead. Wow, this section is full of Heroes units. It's almost like I grouped them up into groups of characters of games I haven't played, characters I never used, characters from Heroes, etc. subconsciously. Anna got 108th? Higher than Noel, Volube, Nyla, Astrid, and Peleus? I'm learning a lot about myself today. I think it's making me more disappointed in myself than anything. Brady signals the top 100 of the franchise. I think this is where we start getting into characters that I either really wanted to use or did end up using in my playthroughs. Erica at 85th? Next time she'll probably be 498 places lower. Oh look, a bunch of Echoes characters. I really want to play Echo so badly. I really like the art in Echoes too. You know, Fire Emblem has a bunch of really good art. Oh, and here's the Radiance saga. I think I only placed Jill that low because she kept dying on this one chapter in Radiant Dawn, which made me reset like a dozen times. Wow, a bunch of main characters that I only know from Heroes. These guys are the characters that make me want to play their games. I guess that's in terms of characters rather than for the story or the gameplay itself. Random small sacred stones section. After Effie and Azura, the latter who I thought would place higher, we have my absolute favorites of the franchise. The top 30 is like my MVP list. Looks like I sprinkled in a little awakening love there. Wait a second, Lucas, Ira, and Alvis? I'm not too surprised to see Lucas there, but Ira and Alvis did much better than I expected. Good on them. Ooh, I think Ephraim would be even higher than 18 now, but who knows? I feel like I said the same thing with a dozen other characters, so that might not even be the case at this point. My main man Ike at 16, followed directly by Boyd at 17, cool. I think Nephne is signaling characters that I will probably have in every single playthrough that I do, unless I have custom rules or something. I do really like Nephne, but I have yet to summon her on Heroes. It makes me a sad boy. Franz, Crom, Natasha, Otter, man, I love these guys. Now we're in the top 10. Ewan at 10th, and I don't even know if I pronounced his name right. But he is so strong in Sacred Stones if you train him up, and I normally like putting in lots of work for units like that. Marissa at 9th, who I'm considering on changing my summoner support to on Heroes. I have it on Brave Lynn right now, not because she's my favorite, but because it just makes clearing maps so much easier. At 8th is Rolf, who I think I didn't like at first because I thought he was a crybaby. It kind of makes sense though because he's always been dependent on his brothers and doesn't want to lose more of his family. Stahl at 7th. I don't think a single person could hate Stahl. Same with Donald at 6th. They're such fantastic fighters and have great characters to represent Awakening. Alencia's at 5th, who is my favorite healer in the franchise. I think her art is a little strange in Heroes, but I still want her and have yet to get her. 4th is Sayri. Honestly, she was kind of lacking throughout my first playthrough of Awakening, but I continued using her just because I thought she was such a unique character. Emryn is 3rd. I just love her. I have no idea how to recruit her in Awakening, but I'm pretty sure you can. I think I just keep doing paralogs, but perhaps it's just not possible. Please don't confirm or deny. I promise I will figure this out on my own. Soren at number 2. Man, I had so much trouble picking between him and number 1. Soren is such an amazing character. I love his storyline, who reminds me of Robin's, and they both happen to be great tacticians. Who's better? Well, I have no idea, but I know a lot of people would probably bet on Robin. I just would definitely not underestimate Soren. That man is truly a genius. Finally, at number 1, we have the man, the myth, the legend, Edward. If you've seen a couple of my videos previously, you may remember me campaigning for him for Choose Your Legends 2. I love Edward. He's also got the path of being available from the beginning and starting off pretty weak but growing to be such a monster in the middle and late game. He's almost always the guy that I try to stack a bunch of XP on in Radiant Dawn, but he actually didn't even get the most kills in my playthrough. That, surprisingly, went to Nolan, who placed 32nd. And that, my friends, was all the characters in the franchise ranked from 578th to 1st as of January 4th. I'm sure if I were to do it even right now, that less than 50% of the characters would get the same spot. Obviously, since this took so long, I probably won't do a video like this for a couple of years. Either way, that was a super fun video to make, and it was very interesting to see how I looked at all the characters stacked up. If you managed to make it through this incredibly long video, give yourself a pat on the back. You may not have heard, but you can find me on Twitter at @TurtleHealthy, where I actually don't post too often, so hopefully I can work on that in the next couple of months. You can also find me on Twitch at twitch.tv/carsrock987. Why isn't my Twitch TheHealthyTurtle? Well, someone snagged that username before me, and it makes me very, very sad. Finally, of course, I'm here on YouTube. It's been over a month since my last video, and that's just because I've been working on this special for all that time, and if I posted something else before it, this would no longer be the 100th video. I guess I'm very bad at planning. Moving forward, I should be posting once or twice a week, likely on Wednesdays and Saturdays. I have like dozens of past summonings that I feel the need to post, because why not? I do apologize that they are slightly old at this point, but I don't really want them to go to waste. I think what I want to do is to post old summonings on Wednesdays, while Saturdays will be a bit more sporadic, in the sense that I may post anything. For the first couple of weeks, I might just post a couple of summonings or commentary videos about heroes, while I relax a little after this project. But in the future, I will try to attempt other creative videos that I like. Despite this being a video almost entirely dedicated to Fire Emblem, I don't want to box myself into being exclusively a Fire Emblem YouTuber. I want to make videos that I both really enjoy making and also that I am really proud of. I want to try lots of new things. I have a video planned in the near future that has absolutely no relevance to everything that I've done previously on the channel that I'm kind of excited about, but at the same time am a little worried about. Either way, I just want to try playing other games, kind of like what I did with Undertale. I'm not too sure if I want to make them into Let's Plays or if I would rather just do streams of them. I do plan on streaming games, but I don't have a set schedule for them. I want to stream on both YouTube and Twitch at the same time, but I haven't tested that out yet to see how well it works. Hopefully, I will be able to stream relatively often throughout the summer and play a ton of new fun games. In the end, I just want to have fun doing this, and am hoping that, at the same time, you guys can enjoy yourselves too. I've been talking for way too long, and I feel like if I don't stop now, I never will, so I'm going to end the 100th video special here. Hopefully my non-streamed videos are not nearly as long as this one. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I hope I haven't bored you too much to death, and I hope to see you guys again next time. Take care, everybody.